All right, so we're going to talk about how we use Punnett squares to determine the genotype and therefore the phenotype of offspring. So when we look here, we have parent 1 and parent 2. Now both parents have a heterogeneous genotype. And what that means is they have both a dominant and a recessive allele. So the dominant alleles are represented by a capital letter, and the recessive alleles are represented by a lowercase letter. So in this example, we're going to look at two parent pea plants, and we're going to look at tall versus short. So tall is going to be the dominant allele, and short height is going to be the recessive allele. So our capital T here represents tall, and our lowercase t represents short. So now what we want to find out is what's going to happen with the offspring when these two parents come together. So we're going to take parent 1's alleles, and we're going to put those across the top of the Punnett square. So the first allele, the big T, will go there, and the second allele, the little t, is going to go there. All right. Then we're going to take parent 2 alleles, and we're going to put the first one here, and the second one there. So now what we're going to do is to determine the percentage of offspring that will be short and then will be tall. We're going to combine these alleles in different ways. So for the big T here from parent 1, the tall allele, we're going to put it in all of the squares that it is above. So we're going to put a big T here and a big T there. And for the second allele, we're going to go ahead and put this one in all the boxes that it is above. So a T there and a T there. Now we're going to do the same thing with parent 2 alleles. So big T is going to go in all the boxes that it's in front of. So it's going to go here and here. And the second allele is going to do the same thing and go in both of these boxes. Okay? So now let's look at what our different percentages of offspring will be. So by looking at this, we notice that there is a large T in 3 of the boxes. So this is going to say that 75% of the offspring will be tall. All right? And if we look, we have 2 little alleles, all right, 2 of the short alleles, the recessive alleles, all right, in just one box. So this means there isn't a large T or a dominant allele to kind of overshadow that recessive allele. So this means 25% of the plants will be short. Okay? Now we can further break down the tall. All right? And what we see is we're going to have 25% of the offspring be homozygous tall. And we're going to see 50%, so that was 25, and this is going to be 50%, be heterozygous tall. Okay? So this would matter, right, this breakdown of the tall, when we were looking at what these offspring, what kind of offspring they would produce. All right? But for this scenario, if we're just looking at this first generation of offspring from these two parents, we're going to have 75% be tall and 25% be short. So let's look at a second example. So again, we're looking at tall and short height. Okay? So, but this time we have 2 homozygous parent genotypes. One homozygous for tall and one homozygous for short. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take each of these 2 alleles and we're going to put them on top of our Punnett square here. So one there and one there. And we're going to do the same thing we did in the first example with parent 2. So we're going to have our recessive allele and our recessive allele. All right, and then we're going to fill in the boxes. So this large T, this dominant allele, is going to go in all the boxes that it's over top of. So we're going to have one here and one here. We're going to do the same thing with this one. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing with parent 2's allele, so all the boxes that it's lined up with, and we're going to put a small t in, and same thing with the second allele. All right, and what we have here now with this offspring is 100%, see they're all the same, so this is going to be 100% heterozygous, all right, for tall height. Okay, and then also if you noticed when I was filling in these Punnett squares, I had a tendency to put the capital letter, the dominant allele, prior to the smaller letter, the recessive allele, and that is just convention for filling in and writing our genotypes.